Another Israeli cargo ship has been attacked. Now, are you surprised? Should you be worried? A little bit of both. One thing you need to understand is that the ship that was recently attacked, known as the CMA-CGM Saimi, it was attacked in the Indian Ocean. The reason why there's a little bit of concern here is that the initial reports for any ship that needed to be careful or for a warning was in the Red Sea. And the faction who made the warning and the threat really were the Houthis.
Everything works so coordinated. Two places with two escalations. One, the Houthis at the sea. Okay, this is an escalation of the situation. And two, in the north. The moment the foreign minister affairs of Iran said that Hezbollah officially joined to the war of attrition, okay, we also see the escalation in the sea and in the north. And I believe that we, from today, we can mark another step of escalation in the Middle East. Let's see where it will put us in the following 24 hours.
Understand this, the Houthis had actually fulfilled their promise in seizing a ship in the Red Sea, and they had a rather successful mission. Do not take this as me supporting the Houthis, but you need to give credit to the Houthis. They are a ragtag group funded by Iran, and they posted the footage of them riding in a helicopter, landing on a moving ship, which is not an easy maneuver, capturing the ship, dancing on the ship in a celebration, and bringing it back to harbor. Now, this new ship, nobody know who did it, but what we do know is that this is a new thing Israel needs to worry about. This ship was attacked by a drone. Many people are suspecting that it was an Iranian-backed drone or from an Iranian-backed militia group, maybe even from Iran. But again, it's a little concerning that this ship was in the Indian Ocean and it wasn't in an area that they were really needing to worry about anything. So again, I am not pointing fingers, but what I am saying is a lot of the evidence is pointing towards some sort of Iranian-backed militia group. Reason being, these groups tend to use drone attacks, and already the threat was put out there by the Houthis that any ship belonging to Israel or is affiliated with Israel, we are going after you. Now, here is the cause for concern. If you're not Israeli and you're an American like me, just chilling out here, like, what's the big deal? This is a cargo ship. Not everything on this cargo ship belongs to Israel. In fact, we can make a pretty good educated guess that a lot of the elements of the cargo ship are spread out throughout the world. In fact, these cargo ships have pre-planned, pre-dated, like, areas of operation of where they're going to go way in advance. I mean, these cargo ships are treated like they're a military vessel within the maritime industry. It's a very well-fined machine throughout the world. Now, the reason why I'm even pointing this out is because if these attacks keep happening, whether from the Houthis or whatever faction, and they attack the wrong ship, where elements of that ship, maybe supply elements, maybe more face masks, maybe gloves, maybe things that are very important to that nation gets taken out, this could potentially be a means for war. Because look, if there were a bunch of cars on this ship, you've now destroyed a lot of mini micro elements of economy that has to do with cars in a certain area of the world. And this could destroy economies. These ships have billions of dollars worth of items on them. Again, these are pre-planned courses that a lot of countries and economies rely on the shipping industry. Now, something else I want to point out is that, yes, this ship is an Israeli ship, but the reason why it's an Israeli ship is because the owner is an Israeli businessman, but they don't even fly the Israeli flag. Again, the reason why this is a cause for concern is that whoever did this attack, and again, maybe it was the Houthis, maybe it wasn't, they are willing to attack a ship as long as it has anything to do with Israel. Even if this ship is not going to Israel, as long as someone who's Israeli is either on that ship or has signed for that ship, it doesn't matter. All is fair in love and war. Now, here's the thing. Is this against the rules of war? Absolutely. These ships are soft targets. They're non-military objectives. The only way that a faction could somewhat turn it into their favor and say that, you know what, this ship is a military objective, this ship is a ship that we can attack, is if you can prove that there are military elements on the ship, or there's a command control center on this ship, that is the only way you could ever go after this particular ship or any ship and say that we are not going against the rules of war. So, if we do find out hypothetically that it is the Houthis, do you think Israel is willing to now start another conflict with the Houthis? Who knows? They're already getting a lot of flack for what they're doing up with Lebanon. In fact, Israel told the UN that you need to control Hezbollah targets and the Hezbollah issues on the Lebanese border, because what's happening with Israel is the same thing that's happening in Gaza, where there's a lot of cause for concern that Israel is creating a lot of collateral damage and they're hurting people who have nothing to do with Hezbollah. And that's why Israel is saying, look, we are having to get to the point, if the UN doesn't figure it out with Hezbollah, then we're going to have to potentially do some sort of military invasion, boots on the ground, to secure the areas ourselves. Now, Israel said we might do it, we might not do it. We're waiting on the UN to control the situation, the Peace Corps, if you will. As far as the relevancy as to this story, the reason why it's relevant is because Israel, again, could get sucked into another air campaign and then could get sucked into another boots on the ground campaign if it gets worse and worse. Because look, Israel has proven, and really the U.S. military has proven through Vietnam, that an air campaign can only get you so much out of what you want from your military. The Houthis are going to keep attacking. They've made the threat, and they're keeping to their promise. And not only that, the Houthis are still trying to reach Israel with their drone elements and other munitions, launching them straight up the Red Sea. Now, there's another piece to this story that we do need to talk about, is the fact that the U.S. Navy, they are in the area here. And the U.S. Navy, they're supposed to be protecting Israel, but how far is the U.S. Navy willing to go as far as protecting Israeli ships? Is that really in the venture for the U.S. Navy? I don't think so. I don't think this is the responsible for the U.S. Navy unless it's a legitimate U.S. ship getting attacked. Then we've come to a different story here. But understand this: the U.S. Navy is here to protect Israel from direct military threats and targets. There's already been one Navy ship in the Red Sea that stopped, propelled away 2 separate attacks, drone attacks and missile attacks, even on Thanksgiving, where the U.S. Navy doesn't stop working, even on Thanksgiving. That's pretty crazy. Where, the U.S. Navy has been doing its job stopping these attacks. But as far as defending ships, is the U.S. taxpayer going to want to be paying for this? Probably not, but probably yes, if it turns out these ships start getting taken out and it has U.S. interest on these ships.
Where does it put the global stage right now? Because as Guy is outlining, there are no Israelis on board this boat as per the latest confirmed information, but there are people from a whole range of different nations. What kind of outrage are you expecting to hear to the latest developments, these Iranian proxies at sea right now? Will the world be outraged?
Well, I think that not. The world shows weakness. And this is an enemy that when you show a weakness, they escalate the situation because they feel that they can.
I completely agree with this point. Let's be honest with ourselves. When the Houthis initially made their statement that they are going to enter this conflict and help Hamas, we all looked at them like, what the heck are you going to do all the way down in Yemen? And all of a sudden, you had your first initial attack all the way down from Yemen with drones, with munitions flying up the Red Sea. And thankfully, the U.S. Navy actually did their job and kept their promise and repelled this attack. And then all of a sudden, you had another attack, and it was repelled. But then all of a sudden, you have the Houthis making a threat saying, you know what? Instead of going after Israel directly, we're going to go after the maritime force. We're going to go after any Israeli ship or any ship that has something to do with Israel. Hamas was going to do this. What was the response? Absolutely nothing. The response was a U.S. drone actually getting taken out from the sky. Imagine that. An MQ-9 Reaper drone flying around in Yemen territory gets taken out. Again, there was no response because what are you supposed to do? Do you just go ahead and start striking targets and try taking out the Houthis? This is not a fight for the United States. The United States is not obligated to take out the Houthis. They're just obligated to protect Israel. But how far are they willing to take it? Is the United States Navy willing to protect Israeli assets as far as cargo ships? ships? No one has done anything. There's been no response. There's been a sign of weakness, and the Houthis have exploited this. The Houthis went on with their mission, attacking, taking out a cargo ship, and the cargo ship that's been seized is still seized. No one's gone back to get the cargo ship, and I don't think Israel is obligated to because it's not technically their cargo ship, and the U.S. Navy is not going to go risk their lives for this ship. It is what it is, but nonetheless, again, the point of this is that if you show a sign of weakness, at the end of the day, a faction like the Houthis is going to keep operating however they want. You can even see this with the U.S. military up in Syria and Iraq. And look, I'm not trying to hate on the U.S. military. I was in the dang army. I'm just trying to point out that there is evidence for this sign of weakness. The U.S. military has been attacked over 80 plus times. And finally, when an attack was made by an AC-130J over near Baghdad, the attacks look like they've suppressed a little bit. But it goes to show, if you show a sign of weakness to any of these Iranian-backed proxy units, you're probably going to get attacked, and you probably played yourself a little. Now look, I am not downplaying. I don't think the U.S. military in Israel necessarily has downplayed these factions. But the fact that an entire cargo ship was attacked is not a good thing, especially by a drone strike. Look, when something is a drone strike of this fashion, you know it's probably coming from a particular part of the world and a particular faction who uses drones a lot because they're cheap, they're easy to use, and even a group like the Houthis can use them.